A bad habit doesn't scream when it enters your life. It whispers and it keeps whispering quietly, patiently until it owns the room. That is how most people end up stuck, not through one dramatic mistake, through small, comfortable patterns they never stop to question.
Korejotic views, इंसानियत जो पैगाम Korejotic views, सच जो ऊंचाई नाम Korejotic views for all of mankind Korejotic views, leave no one behind.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Korejotic Views. I'm Mushtaque Korejo, and today I want to talk about 5 bad habits that are working against you right now silently without announcing themselves, and what you can do to replace each one. Here is what makes these habits so difficult to deal with. They feel comfortable, they feel familiar, some of them even feel like strengths. And the longer you carry them, the more invisible they become. The human emotions naturally lose their intensity over time unless we keep mentally replaying them. Bad habits work the same way. We stop noticing them because we have lived with them too long, and what we stop noticing, we stop changing. Let's name all 5 of them clearly, honestly, and then let's talk about how to replace each one. Always remember, a bad habit doesn't scream when it enters your life, it whispers until it owns the room. Bad habit number 1, claiming confidence you have not earned yet. The first bad habit is something almost every person experiences at the beginning of any new journey. But most people never recognize it for what it is. It is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The science is straightforward. People with small amount of knowledge in any area tend to significantly overestimate their own ability. Why? Because they lack metacognition, the ability to think about their own thinking, to look honestly at what they do and don't understand. They don't yet know enough to recognize their own incompetence. Most beginners start at what psychology calls the peak of Mount ignorance. Confidence is at its highest, knowledge is at its lowest. They feel ready, they feel certain, and then the first real challenge arrives, and confidence does not just drop, it collapses from 100 to 0. And many of them never come back from that drop. They walk away believing the problem was them, when the real problem was that their confidence had no foundation underneath it. If your certainty shatters the moment you face a challenge, you were not standing on knowledge. You were standing on an ego trip. So, how do you fix it? You build real knowledge under your confidence, not fake confidence over your ignorance. One method that genuinely works is the Feynman technique. Take whatever concept you think you understand and try to explain it in the simplest possible language, as if you are teaching it to someone who has never heard of it before. The moment you get stuck, you have found your gap. Go back, fill that gap, and then explain again. Repeat that cycle. Every time you complete that cycle, your understanding becomes more honest, more durable, and more real. That is the kind of confidence that does not collapse at first challenge because it is built on something solid. Bad habit number 2, dreaming a future you have never tested. The second habit is one of the most quietly damaging things a person can do, and most people consider it a strength. It is called the planning fallacy. It is the tendency to picture a goal, a project, or a future in great detail with genuine emotion without ever testing any of it against the reality of what it actually takes. These are the people who invest enormous energy imagining the result. They can feel the success, they can describe the finished version, they talk about it, they think about it constantly, but they have not yet spent a single hour doing the actual work that would produce it. And here is what happens when you put all your energy into picturing the finish line without building the road. When the real journey begins, you have nothing left to use. The emotional investment went into the dream, not the doing. Research shows that estimating time for small, specific subtasks is significantly more accurate than estimating for one large project. Our minds are genuinely poor at handling big, abstract goals, but they are much better at handling concrete, broken down steps. So before you invest more energy into the vision, invest it into the structure. Break the goal into its smallest possible parts, research each one, test the very first step in the real world before you commit emotionally to the 10th. Build a small team around you if you can. People who will give you honest feedback early, not when you think you are finished, but when you have done just enough to show them something real. The goal is not to stop dreaming. The goal is to give the dream something solid to stand on. Bad habit number 3, making other people's opinion the ruler of your life. This third habit is personal for me, and I think it will be personal for many of you watching this. Social comparison theory tells us that human beings naturally measure their own worth by comparing themselves to others. It is deeply built into how we think. And when criticism arrives from a comment, a reaction, a public response, our brains process it as a real threat. It chips directly at our self-esteem. And the more we care about what we are doing, the more the criticism hurts. I held this habit too close to my chest for too long. When people criticize my work, I could not just hear it and keep going. I stopped. I tried to prove myself to the very people who were working against me. I spend real time and the real energy on negative people, trying to earn their approval, trying to make them understand the value of what I was doing. And what I lost in that process was the focus and the hours I should have been giving to the work itself. What I realized eventually is this: I was letting the wrong people hold the measuring stick. Here's the truth about most criticism. The person posting a negative comment about what you are building is usually not making a careful judgment about your actual ability. They are expressing something about their own state, their own frustration, their own fear, their own stopped journey. Their comment is about them, not about you. That doesn't mean all criticism is wrong. Some of it is useful. So here is how you separate the two. That doesn't mean all criticism is wrong. Some of it is useful. So here is how you separate the two. Look at what they are specifically criticizing, not how they are saying it. What they are pointing at, is that specific thing actually a weakness in your work? If the answer is yes, good. Work on it, improve it. That is the only response to criticism worth giving. but never stop because of it. You are the one deciding your future, not the people watching from the outside. You cannot quit something without testing all of its future moments first, and most of those moments have not arrived yet. You bad cannot. Habit number four, staying on a path that has stopped working. This bad habit has a name in psychology, the sunk cost fallacy. It is the tendency to keep investing in something, time, effort, money, identity, simply because you have already put so much into it. Even when it has stopped producing results, even when every honest part of you knows it is no longer working. The science behind it is direct. The pain of quitting something feels almost twice as powerful as the potential gain of switching to something better. That emotional weight is why people stay in bad jobs for years, in wrong directions for years, in plans that stopped making sense long after the evidence told them to move. I lived this for a period of my life. I was deeply invested in script writing. I was giving it real hours, real effort, real commitment, and it never earned me a single penny. I kept going because of how much I had already put in, not because of where it was actually taking me. But here is what I eventually understood. The problem was not the skill, the problem was the direction I was pointing it in. The discipline of writing, the understanding of structure, the ability to build a clear argument from a blank page, none of that was wasted. I just needed to find a different channel for it. And that is the question I want you to ask before you write anything off. Not simply, should I quit? But is there another direction for this same knowledge? Because the same skill applied differently can produce completely different results. Every hour you spend on a failing path is an hour you are paying with that you could have spent on a working one. That cost is real. Don't keep paying it out of stubbornness. Bad habit number five, waiting for the moment instead of building it. The fifth and final habit is one I have watched quietly cost people enormous amount of time, including people I know personally. It comes from a fixed mindset, the belief that success is something that arrives for you rather than something you build through daily effort. People who carry this habit are not lazy, they are waiting. They believe that at the right moment, conditions will align, the opportunity will appear, the breakthrough will come, and then they will act. But the breakthrough does not come first, the acting does. I have met many people in my life who were waiting for the opportunity to find them while spending their time and energy deeply involved in other people's struggles, watching what others were doing, tracking other people's progress, investing emotions in other people's journey while their own stood completely still. The neuroscience on this is clear and direct. The brain physically changes, it grows new connections, new pathways, new capacity only through repeated effort and real struggle. This is what neuroplasticity actually means. It is not triggered by wanting, it is not triggered by planning, it is triggered by doing. There is no rewiring without the friction of the work. And here is something important about motivation that most people get completely backward. Most people believe they need to feel motivated before they take action. They wait until the energy arrives, until the inspiration strikes, until they feel ready. But the research tells us the opposite is true. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you take even a small step, a real one, not a planned one, your brain releases the dopamine that makes you want to take the next one. The motivation you have been waiting for is actually on the other side of starting. It does not come before the action, it comes because of it. You don't need to wait until you feel ready, you need to begin, and readiness will follow. Five habits, let me name them one last time clearly, claiming confidence before you have built the knowledge underneath it. Dreaming about a future you have never tested, letting other people's opinions become the ruler of your life, staying on a path that has stopped working because of how much you have already invested, and waiting for a breakthrough moment instead of building it through daily action. None of these habits announce themselves, none of them feel like habits from the inside. They feel like just the way things are, but they are not permanent. Every one of them can be replaced, and the first step is simply seeing them clearly. That is what I hope this episode gave you, not just the names, but the recognition. Because once you can see a habit for what it is, you already have the most important thing. You need to change it. Thank you so much for watching. If this episode spoke to you, if any part of it felt like something you needed to hear, please subscribe to Korejotic Views and hit the bell icon so you never miss what is next. I'm always in your corner, wishing you happy, healthy, and purposeful life. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next episode. I'm Mushtaque Korejo. Thank you so much.